Hi guys, here's a video on hiding a squiggly line. It's in response to a question from one of our students, Caitlin, who says, "Hi, I'm trying to make the mouse make a line slash shape disappear as the mouse follows the line. I've attached the sketch and the GIF of what I'm trying to code. Thanks." So this is what she's trying to do. The mouse hides the line. So what I want to show you is I want to show you how you might do something like that, and then I want to talk about whether that is actually what Caitlin was after, and then yeah, just sort of highlight a few things that happen when you're coding and how you might get around them. So let's go back to our code here. So what you have to do when approaching I might just go to our sketch file here. What you have to think about when this squiggly line is that the line is going to be made up of I've removed one of the squiggles, but the line is going to be made up here of 5 different lines. Yeah. So what you're going to do is depending on where the mouse is, you're going to show or hide those lines, and you're going to change the width and length of those lines. So you have to deal with each line on its own basis. Yeah. So if this, let's talk about the first line. If the mouse is up here, we want to show the line. But when the mouse is moving in, we want the line to become shorter and follow it. Yeah. But then when the mouse goes under here, we don't want that line to be there at all. It's gone. Yeah. And this is the line that we're dealing with. Yeah. So we do that. Let me just go back so I don't lose that. We do that using a series of conditionals and variables, which you've all seen in your in some of the previous videos. So the first thing I want to do here is I want to, so I've actually done it here. I'm not going to go through and show us how to do it. In fact, actually I might do that. Let's just comment out all these. Let's just deal with line on a line by line basis. Okay, so we've got our first line here. And our first line is that long, but it gets shorter as the mouse moves down. And then if you go under it, it disappears. So that line is always there when the mouse is above. So here's our condition. Let's just set up some variables here. There's not many. I started with loads, and then I realized that I was doubling up. But the first thing I want to do is the thickness of the line. You'll see why we use that further down the track. The line 1 Y position, the line 2 end, which is and then the line 4 end. Okay, so let's look at line 1 Y position. That's at 50 pixels from the top. So we're going to use that here. So we want the line to be 50 pixels from the top. So we only want to draw the line in our draw function. Let's just skip down here. Here we've got our stroke settings. There we've used the variable thickness for the stroke weight. So our first line here, we only want to draw the line if the mouse Y position is smaller than the line 1 Y position. That means we only want to draw the line if the mouse is above where the line is going to be. We don't want to draw it down here. It's not being drawn, yeah? But here we do want to draw it, okay? So we can just wrap the whole line drawing function in that conditional. It just tells us, don't bother about this line unless the mouse is above the line 1 Y position. And then we're going to draw the line. So here we're going to use a JavaScript function that gets the minimum value of 2 values. So the reason that we want to do that is that we don't want to if we just used mouse X here, the line would follow us off this way, and we don't want that. Yeah, we only want if our mouse is over here, we don't want it to follow. So we want to take the maximum. We want to take the minimum position, the minimum value out of mouse X and 450. 450 is over here. So if the mouse X position is like 475, we're just going to keep it at 450. Yeah. But otherwise, we're going to use the mouse X position, okay? And here is the line 1 Y position, which is 50, which we've used in a few spots, so it's good to have it as a variable. And here is the ending point, which is 450 and line position line 1 Y position, which is 450 and 50. So that's the end position. So we're just drawing a line using the mouse X. Yeah. So this is fine. The next line is much the same. I'm not going to go into detail on every line in this because it's slightly complex and it might not be that relevant to anything you're doing. And I just want you to watch the video to the end regardless of that, because I want you to just see what turned out when we made it and why it might be good or bad. So line 2 here is much the same. There's some... I've coloured it slightly so you can see that it's 2 lines. So here we're doing the same thing. We're not drawing it at all. If the mouse is under here, we're drawing it up here and we're using the mouse Y position to set the starting point. Yeah. Line 3 is slightly more complicated because we don't want it to just disappear straight away when you go underneath. We want to have a point in here to make it smoother. We want to have a point where it can follow your mouse. Yeah. So we want to have, if you're inside this thing, this line, we want to be able to draw it. Okay. But if you're above it, we just draw it as a full line. If you're inside it, we use the mouse X position to draw it. And if you're underneath, we don't draw it. So it's got an extra line in the conditional. Yeah. So if mouse Y position is above the line 2 end minus half a thickness, which is this point here. So if we're above where that starts, where that line starts, the thickness of the line starts, we're going to draw a full line, which is really simple. You've seen how to draw lines. Yeah. So that's just a full line drawn. And if it's inside, so if the mouse Y position is smaller than line 2 end plus the thickness divided by 2, then we'll draw. So if it's in between here and here, then we'll draw the line using the mouse Y position. Line 4 is the same sort of thing as line 2, and line 5 is very similar, except for this, we're going to still draw it if our mouse is underneath. Yeah. So here we're going to have it as a full line if the mouse is above where the line is, and if it's underneath, we're going to make it follow the mouse X position. Yeah. So as you can see, let's change all these. 0, so that we're looking at what might actually. So as you can see, it sort of does what we intended it to do, yeah. But my question is, now that we've built it, is it successful? I don't think so, because I think that it's very jumpy just by the nature of the mathematics we've had to use, and now that we're seeing it in action and using it with a mouse, it's actually not as smooth. It's not as smooth as we sort of wanted. It's a bit of a strange interaction. So I think what we're actually trying to do is animate a moving line just over time. So I think that what Caitlin has envisaged sounded great, and this happens a lot when you're building things, is you go, yeah, that makes sense, and then once you do it, you go, that's not what I want. The other thing with this is that there's loads of restrictions. The restrictions are that it's got to be a vector line. Now, I can see in here in Caitlin's drawings that maybe she doesn't want it to be. Maybe she wants it to be a brush stroke or something, or maybe she wants it to be curved. So really, for me, there's too many limitations on this, I think, for Caitlin to actually use it. And I think now that we've seen it done, it's not as a successful interaction as we thought it might be. It's also quite complex, so it's going to be hard to maintain. Do we want to maintain that throughout the project, or is this just going to become a thorn in our side, this interaction? Is there something much simpler that we can use? 3 images fading out that can give this interaction the same sort of feel, but in a more successful way. So yeah, I just wanted to show you guys that it's useful for you to, it's always useful to learn how to do things in code and how to think about them and how to break things up in the way that I did there. But it's also always useful to sort of really plan out your interactions before you launch into quite complex code, because I think in the end, this isn't going to be what Caitlin wants. All right, Caitlin, sorry to use you as an example there, but yeah, there we go. Thanks.